Europe is one of the most fascinating continents in the world, a continent that spans over 10.5 million square kilometers, has 740 million people and above living in this continent, has a rich history, rich contribution, has exported forms of governance, law, policy to the ends of the earth, scientific discoveries. Some of the oldest academic institutions are in Europe and still existent in Europe. But as builders at every strata, we have several lessons we can learn from the continent of Europe. And as Europeans, people living in Europe, I would say well done to a large extent. Europe has done very well to a very, very large extent for itself. But there are certain things that if we can, number one, learn from Europe, this is to other continents, and then Europeans can tweak. I believe personally, and this is not just my opinion, it's the opinion of reputable analysts and a lot of people that have predicted the full potential of Europe. Europe has achieved what a lot of continents wish to achieve in terms of unity. They have a unified policy front. Majorly, most of the countries use one currency. They have laws, policies that protect each nation and gives you access. So if I were to go to France, I have access to do business in Germany without so much documentation hassle. But when you look at Asia, on the other hand, Asia could learn a lot from Europe, right? Asia is a supercontinent, 4.7 billion people, several countries, but they do not have any AU, Asian Union, right? But Europe has EU. They do not have a single currency. And there are reasons why. But imagine if Asia could align like Europe. It's going to be tremendously powerful, tremendously powerful. They have a unified currency and several other policy agreements. So when you look at Europe, they've been able to achieve that level of unity through, I believe, healthy builders in Europe who, after the First World War, the Second World War, with over 70 to 90 million people dying, the Soviet Union alone, they lost over 27 million people to death. They have so many reasons to not be as united as they are, but some of these builders, some of these reformers in politics, in these different nations in Europe, they had to come together and begin to form policies that now bind them together, such that today, if you attack Germany, you've attacked the entire Europe. It's not the same in Asia, right? It's not even the same in Africa, even though we have an AU. So there's so much to learn from Europe. They've championed green acts like no other continent. They've championed sustainability acts like no other continent. They have championed data acts, AI acts. The list is endless. When it comes to policy, you want to learn about policy making, you want to learn about healthy government, governing, just go and study Europe. But Europe is not without its challenges. And for me, in my opinion, and the opinion of several papers I've read and analysis I've read, one of the greatest problems Europe has is the same thing that unites Europe, which is policies. There are so many policies that when a startup, a tech startup most especially, wants to do something remarkable from Europe, they most times immigrate to the United States of America. So when you look at the AI landscape presently, we have 50 to 60% of AI companies in the United States of America. We have 20 to 25% of the other AI companies in China. And we should have more in Europe because Europe has more population than the United States of America, has more countries, has talented researchers, has just a lot of resourceful people, right? Resourceful builders, a lot of resourceful people across Europe. But the same policies that have united Europe have also scared many investors, have scared many startups. And so everyone is just running away. You look at some organizations, even the father of Python, right, who comes from Netherlands and for a very long time was in Netherlands. At a point, he had to be in the United States, America landscape. Now, I don't know what his reasons are, but when you look at the consistency, you see that the same policies that have brought about unification and helping Europe advance also have restricted, scared off several investors, several businesses, and etc. And don't get me wrong, there's still many businesses in Europe that thrive, right? But we're talking about innovative infrastructures, innovative organizations that are shaping the world presently. And you know, it's actually out there. For example, AI companies not based in Europe are determining the future of several people who would use this product, who use these services in Europe. So, what can other continents learn from Europe? The policies are great. Unification is very important, but there must be a very flexible standpoint that does not scare some of the brightest minds, right? But aside that, Europe has done a phenomenal job, very, very phenomenal job, coming from chaos to victory. I believe personally that the future holds amazing, amazing things for Europeans because they've really tried. Yes, some people have their grievances, especially when it comes to colonization. But aside that, Europe has really done a phenomenal work. So if you're a builder in Europe presently, whether you're a STEM or non-STEM builder, I would say well done. Thank you for the contributions of your fathers, and your mothers across all fields, from politics to science to art and etc.